So let's talk about hormones because I feel like this is one of the most misunderstood areas in healthcare right now, and it's certainly getting a lot of attention. My name is Catherine Del Prado. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I'm the owner of Rise Integrative Health here in South Carolina. I also service Connecticut through telehealth. So a lot of women come to me thinking, I just need my hormones fixed. And while hormones absolutely matter, they're just one small piece of a much bigger picture. If you're feeling tired all the time, if you're struggling with weight gain, mood swings, simmering anxiety, poor sleep, you're feeling like you just don't sleep as deeply anymore, your cycles could feel off. And then most commonly, I hear women say, well, I just don't feel like myself anymore. These can all signal hormone issues, especially with everything going on in social media right now. We're hearing a lot about perimenopause and menopause. So it's really tempting to think that there's a quick fix. Like maybe if I just took hormone replacement, I'll feel better. And certainly this can be the case. Hormones can definitely be very helpful, but we often skip the why behind our symptoms. And when we're doing that, we're missing the real opportunity for lasting change because hormones don't operate in isolation. They are wound up tight with each other. They're constantly dancing and moving, and they're deeply influenced by our lifestyle. So, our nutrition, our timing of our nutrition, um, how we're building our plate, our protein levels, our stress levels, and not just physical stress. I'm talking all sorts of stress. So, stressors on the body can be maybe a chronic infection you didn't even know existed, maybe a gut imbalance, or uh, poor sleep itself is a physical stressor on the body, and even the environment. So, things in our environment can put stress on the symptom system. So, instead of asking what hormone is low, I want you to get to think, why is my body struggling to regulate these hormones in the first place? What's going on? Because when we answer that question, everything changes. And certainly physiology and the aging process, our hormones are going to decline naturally with age. But I want to take that into the context of a much bigger picture, which is exactly why my intake process is so long and honestly pretty thorough. So if you've filled out my intake forms, you know what I'm talking about. And I know people see my intake forms and think, wow, okay, this is a lot. But here's the thing. I'm not just looking at your hormones on paper and your lab work. I'm looking at all the different patterns and how they're influencing how you're feeling. So, we're looking at your sleep. How are you sleeping? We're going to really dive deep into your sleep even more than that. We're going to look at nutrition, your timing of your meals, how much protein you're eating. We're looking at your day-to-day stressors, your blood sugar levels, and your gut. So, is your gut absorbing the nutrients properly? And could other things be happening in the gut? Because all these things directly impact how your hormones are not only produced, but how they're being converted in the body, metabolized, and then excreted. Um, all of that plays a huge, important role in how we're feeling and how our hormones are operating within this bigger picture. For instance, the gut plays a huge role in how we metabolize certain hormones like estrogen. Maybe I'll do a little video in the future about the estrobolome. Um, but gut health directly influences how your hormones are metabolized and utilized by the body. So let's talk about some other examples. If your blood sugar is on a roller coaster ride, so it's spiking, it's crashing, it's spiking, it's crashing, your body is going to produce more insulin. Insulin is the hormone that allows sugar from the bloodstream to enter into the cell where we can utilize it for energy. But high levels of insulin alone can greatly disrupt estrogen balance, testosterone, and cortisol. And if you're chronically stressed, again, not just emotional stress, but all types of stress on the body, your body can prioritize a cortisol production over those sex hormones. Or if your gut isn't functioning well, as I mentioned before, and you're not metabolizing the estrogen very well, then you can have symptoms like bloating, worsening PMS, breast tenderness, etc. So we can give hormones, of course, but if the foundational layers aren't there in place, then your body may struggle to use them effectively. So I find hormone therapy very helpful, appropriate in many different situations. But what I find even more helpful is when we work on those foundational layers, women start to feel like themselves again. They start to feel better because we're not just masking the symptoms with hormones, we're addressing the underlying fires, if you will, that are happening deep um, underneath the surface. What I see too often is people just jumping straight to hormones without adjusting the lifestyle, the nutrient balances underneath, and then they may fall short. They don't feel like maybe they even have short-lived benefit from the hormones, but overall, things may stop working and they just don't feel like themselves still. So when we take a step back and we support the body as a whole, we can improve how the hormones are made, how they're metabolized, and then how your cells are actually responding to them and utilizing them. And this is where you really start to notice change. So more stable energy, better mood, better sleep, deeper sleep, feeling more refreshed and energized, less inflammation. We can see improvements in your blood sugar regulation. And you can start to feel like you're living in a body that feels like yourself. Um, because that's the goal, right? We don't just want to look at normal labs and giving you hormones to get those lab numbers more normalized. We want you to feel well. We want you to feel really good so that you can do the things that bring you joy. So if you've been focusing on hormones and you're not getting the results you expected, it may not be that those hormones aren't working for you or that your body's broken, but maybe you haven't really looked at the full picture. And so that's where I really take a more comprehensive lifestyle approach, looking at the root causes. And I find that this can make all the difference. So if this resonates with you, I'd love for you to follow along. I'll be sharing more about how you can support your body naturally that creates lasting change. And if you're curious about what this can look for you, certainly you can check out my website. I'll put the description below, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.